Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Daredevil number 229, cover dated April 1986. So the cover caption is Pariah. We have Matthew Murdock in his civilian garb. He has escaped a death trap set for him by the Kingpin after having been beaten to pretty much a pulp into unconsciousness anyway in the previous issue by the Kingpin, and crashed to the bottom of the East River in a taxi with the doors locked. But he's escaped, he's alive, and now it looks like he's running into Santa Claus with a switchblade. So that is Pariah, an outsider indeed. This is a great cover. I love the idea of the corner box as well, where they take a panel from the inside of the comic with Murdock there in silhouette, basically struggling to keep himself upright given all the damage he's taken. Love the idea of having the perspective be ours, as if we're the ones dressed as Santa Claus, ringing the bell there, but also with the switchblade, because Matthew Murdock now at this point truly is somebody who is beyond the boundaries of normal people. He's mad and he is perhaps dangerous at this point. A craft technique that David Mazzucchelli is using here on the cover is that of the color hold. So we have that as our cyan background with white paint cutting in or cutting over the cyan in order to give us the implication of snow, because the inside story is set not just at midwinter but actually Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. So this is a Christmas story, but one of the darkest Christmas stories that you'll ever read in superhero comics. So let's open this one up to the first page. We don't have a splash to begin, but we will get a splash page after this opening sequence. So we've got a very tight close-up on Matt Murdock's face there. David Mazzucchelli using another 1980s craft technique, that of duotone. So you've got the two values of grey here, a light grey and a dark grey, that he is adding to give texture and definition to the images on the page. What's happening here is that Matthew Murdock is dreaming, and he is dreaming of the past, a sunny day, bright and pretty, the last day I will ever see. And so we have the familiar little sequence from Daredevil's origin story, where he saves a blind old man crossing the road, but he ends up unluckily and fatefully blinded by a radioactive isotope that comes out of this truck carrying the hazardous materials. And then we have civilians speaking around the scene. Bravest thing I ever saw, but his face, his eyes, that thing that fell from the truck, is it? Look at his face, that thing, is it? Is it radioactive? Yes. So what a great opening. One of the most inventive ways of retelling Matt Murdock's kind of being blinded is coming up right now, as Matt sleeps in the present but remembers the experience of waking up in the hospital. My blood, it burns, it spurts from a heart that's pounding so loudly it's trying to burst from my chest. My blood, it gushes through high power hoses and slams against the base of my skull. Everything hurts, I don't know where I am. Sandpaper scrapes my skin every time I move. No, not sandpaper sheets, starched sheets. And listen to the alliteration there, the sibilance of the S sounds, giving the implication hourly of the sound of those starched sheets. It's really clever prose by Frank Miller. I'm in a bed somewhere, continues Matthew Murdock remembering, and the smells, chemical smells, disinfectants, hospital. I'm in a hospital. He's putting it all together because he's blind from the smells and sounds. The door swings open on screaming hinges. People come and go, smelling like bathtubs full of sweat, smelling like eaten food, like Italian sauces and half-digested eggs. That's brilliant, the imagery there. So good, giving you a sense of how putrid are the smells to a small boy whose senses have been heightened after the accident. They stab me with long, sharp needles. They fill me with drugs, but the drugs don't fool me. I know they cut my face. So all his senses are working overtime, and nobody knows. I can feel it, you idiots, he continues. Can't you see? There's nothing you can do to stop me from feeling it. Everything hurts. Love the decision to have these horizontal panels here beside the long vertical panel as the quote-unquote camera pulls back, and we get to see more of Matt's profile here, and we'll see exactly where he is as the pages go by. But it's a great layout design here. It also, of course, gives Mazzucchelli a little bit of time as well, more time to get through all the issues. This is 22 pages of story and art, but these opening pages, they give him a little bit of a break from the grind of having to put together 22 pages per month plus a cover. So continuing with the dialogue here, the first person narration, you can only stand so much. I writhe and scream, but even my own scream is too loud, so I have to stop, and all I want is to die, but I don't die, so I have to make do. After a time, I somehow shut out just enough. After a time, it's only agony. Then, past the fumes of whatever it is they use to clean the floor, there comes a wave of whiskey, a megaphone voice. I've always loved that description of the arrival of his father, and then the clever lettering choice to have these huge letters here in magenta as Matt's father calls out to him, "Son, can you hear me, son? The doctors say you'll be fine, son. You're a hero, boy. You just rest now." And he's putting it together. Is that my father? So loud. Dad's anxiety paints the world red. He finally leaves, and it's another night of terror and the endless coughing of someone down the hall. And now a strange twist. Then soft steps, a soft woman's scent, a soft voice. Why does it hurt so loud, so smelly, everything, he's saying. And someone responds. And look at the cool blue for her speech balloons. I see, she says. And Matt remembers. She breathes. Down the hall, the coughing subsides. When she speaks again, it's a gentle whisper. This may not be a bad thing. What you could do with it. Do with it, he asks. Just think of it. It's a blessing, Matt. And that's an interesting phrasing there, a blessing. Who would say that, and who would think such a thing? It's yours, she says, and it's our secret. Don't tell anyone, promise me now. So he asks the obvious question, who are you? Great decision here, as things are clarifying for him, that we get in silhouette the image of a woman kissing his forehead, lips warm, kissing my forehead, loving, and something hard dangling from her neck. It's a cross made of gold. And promise me, she says. What a great opening few pages. Just the cleverness of the storytelling from Miller. And now we're pulling back even more on Matt there. We can see that he is on the ground, it would seem. That there's someone else here, asleep, unconscious. A kind woman's gift of hope to me. I never understand it, and she never comes back, but it gets easier. And then his dad's back with the magenta color for his speech balloons. It's okay, Dad, I'm awake, he says. Son, how'd you know I was here? Could hear you a mile off. Sit down, Dad. So the father says, we have to talk, Matt, man to man. I'm all ears, Dad. Matt makes a little dark joke there. And the father says, it's about the accident, son. You were hit by something. Some corporation was driving through town, right through town. They won't say if it was radioactive. They won't even talk to me. It messed you up pretty badly, Matt. Your face, well, I'm amazed what they were able to do with it. You're going to look good as new, but it's your eyes, son, and the boy knows, I know I'm blind, Dad. There aren't any bandages on my eyes, and I've never heard of a hospital without lights. So the father's taken aback. You're taking it well, son? Yes, I promised. So the woman gave him hope, and that calmed him down. And so now let's turn the page, and we get our splash. We have our title there, Pariah, our credits by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli, another masterpiece by these two collaborators. The rest of the creative team, Christy Shield returning for the colours after Mazzucchelli's wife, Richmond Lewis having coloured the previous issue. Joe Rosen on letters. Joe Rosen does a very good job on the letters here in this issue as well. The era of the hand lettering too, remember. So we get a look. The camera pulls way up and we're looking down on this scene of Matthew Murdock curled up in a fetal position in a side alley. sleeping on garbage bags and with trash cans there beside him, and then these other homeless winos or alcoholics in the alleyway with him as well. Pariah indeed, outcast. And in the first 2 issues, we saw him in various beds. In the first issue, in his own bed in his brownstone in Manhattan. In the second issue, in a bed in a Fleabag hotel. And now he's reduced to sleeping in a side alley on trash. So wow, what a fall there has been. And what day is it? Uptown, where people with money spend it. So there's carolers, Christmas carolers there. This is the Rockefeller Center with that famous Christmas tree that shows up in very many Marvel comics, especially X-Men comics, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 98 in particular. And here we have Foggy Nelson and Gloriana O'Brien, Matt's former girlfriend. And they're out Christmas shopping, and Foggy says, I was sure I'd get it all the shopping done early this year, but Glory's comforts him. She says to him, you've been busy, Foggy. What with all those job offers to sort through? So Foggy's doing well, just as Matt has fallen from grace. To save us all from Satan's power, the carolers continue, and the conversation between Foggy and Glory continues. A little bit about Santa Claus there. Foggy's focused on his Christmas shopping list, and then it's New York City in the mid-1980s, so there's a bag snatcher, and he tries to snatch Glory's handbag there, and she is determined that he won't get away with it. No, you won't, she says. Look at the look on her face there as well. She's determined. The guy is trying to get away. She's got his jacket grabbed. What can Foggy do? Well, he slips on the snow to begin with, and Glory's going wild on the bag snatcher. And so what does Foggy see? Like, going from his Christmas shopping list, he was remembering everybody and Pork Chop, my old bowling partner. So there he had it personalized for Pork Chop Peterson. And look at this, vicious now. The guy pulls a switchblade out and has it right in front of Glory's face. He says, crazy, I'll kill you. So Foggy lifts up the bowling ball and throws it right in the guy's face. There you go. What a great sequence. So well drawn and told by Mazzucchelli. But have a look at the bystanders there doing nothing, just looking blankly at this scene. And that was something that Miller observed of his time in Manhattan. The carelessness of the crowd of bystanders whenever there was some kind of crime committed. So Glory's getting up here. She has her handbag. Stop him, what's the use? And then she just exclaims, Foggy says that, and Glory is really upset. Horrible city, horrible. And she comes from Belfast in the 1980s when that was a city full of its own horrors. So that's saying something. And will you look at all these people, she says, you don't care a bit, do you? Do you care a bit? But Foggy tells her to come on, let's go find a place to dry off. And then, like the counterpoint of the carolers, they never stop singing tidings of comfort and joy. It's Christmas Eve. And where's Matt? Well, he's not dead, not yet. He's escaped the death trap that the Kingpin set for him. Not as long as I keep moving, he thinks. And that gives us our little image from the corner box on the cover. And then the scene shifts to Bellevue Hospital. And we're in the first person narration of Ben Urich, news reporter for the Daily Bugle. He says, my name is Ben Urich, I'm a reporter. This is my Christmas story. So he's there to visit Lieutenant Nick Manoli, and his first question is, how's the kid? It's Nick Manoli's son. Sick. You again. Told you to leave me alone. So Urich has been persistent, trying to find out from Nick why he said what he said about Matt Murdock. 20 years on the force, spotless record, didn't even take vacations. How's the kid, he asks. So Manoli tells him to just get out of here. I've got nothing to say to you. Love this shot here of Urich lighting up the cigarette, and the cross-hatching and shading there for the lighting too. Very well done. Bit of duo shade there in the background as well. Nobody's heard from Matt Murdock in days. He might be dead. Quite a frame he was put in. Quite a frame. So the nurse there insists that there's no smoking. Remember her, she'll turn out to be something other than what she initially appears. And I like the little detail of Yorick stubbing out the cigarette on the sole of his shoe. And he continues to Manoli saying, "You're not the first cop to go bad, Manoli, and it's not like you didn't have a reason. The best treatment for certain cardiac problems costs bags of money, more than a cop's medical plan provides. By the way, how's the kid?" So Manoli stops telling him to get out. He's deeply worried there. Love the body language of him leaning on the bar on the side of his son's hospital bed and saying very quietly, with his face in silhouette, "Complications, going under the knife in an hour, could die tonight. Remember, it's Christmas Eve, so keep moving." Matt is out on the streets, doesn't matter where. And I love the parallel of where is his former secretary and love interest Karen Page. Well, it's Christmas Eve in Mexico, and she's wondering to herself, how can it be Christmas Eve when it's so hot? Christmas is snow and fireplaces and loved ones and presents. It isn't the Mexican sun and quaking from head to toe from heroin withdrawal. So she's so desperate, she's there robbing a blind beggar, a guy who's missing his leg actually from the knee down, but he hears her taking the money out of his jar and he attacks her, and she takes the jar and smashes it over the back of his head. Keep moving, she thinks, in parallel to Matt as well. Both of them really down and out, at the absolute bottom of their lives. Don't think the killers can't be far behind, because that's right. In her case, she has killers sent by the Kingpin to kill everyone who had anything to do with the information that, anything to do with passing on the information that Matthew Murdock is Daredevil. So they are indeed on her trail. And then the scene switches back to Manhattan again, and Matt awkwardly trying to cross the road. And finally he's hit by a car. He looks bad, says the driver. We get the callousness of some people in the big city. Just keep driving, man, says the passenger. Who needs the grief? So Matt pulling himself up off the ground via the lamppost there. Keep moving, he thinks. So he's determined. Just great storytelling, great work here. Remember, Mazzucchelli here is penciling and inking all of this himself. And when he's inking, he's using a brush. So the absolute level of control in the man's inking is amazing, as well as cutting in some white paint there for the slush and snow on the dirty Manhattan Christmas Eve street. So then the scene switches to an altogether more salubrious place, which is either Foggy or Glory's apartment. It could be Foggy's. She's got a nice fire on there for Christmas Eve, and Foggy's on the phone to his mother. And he's talking about all these job offers, but also his concern about Matt and how he wants to keep the phone line open should Matt call. And then he's saying, things are going real well. I've gotten several job offers. Yes, I know you said I would. One in particular looks quite good, almost too good. That's the Kingpin's offer. No, I don't know what I meant by that. And well, it's not just that, Mom. You see, I've met a girl. She's real nice. And Glory there is listening and smiling too. So everything's going really, really well for Foggy, even as things are absolutely rock bottom for his partner, his former partner, Matt Murdock. They're rock bottom, but can they even go any lower? Well, here we have two familiar characters from Frank Miller's original run on Daredevil. It's Turk and Grotto, and they're after knocking out a charity Santa Claus, and they're taking off his costume. I don't know. I mean, Santa Claus, says Grotto. Shut up, replies Turk. Now we schlep to the Upper East Side. The rich ones give us money, and they feel better about being rich, and we feel better all around. It's the Christmas spirit, he says, with dry irony. But somebody else is there in the side alley. Take it off. It's Matt. And of course, even though they've had many run-ins with Daredevil, they don't know Matt Murdock at all, and they certainly don't know him in this guise or appearance as a bum in an alleyway. Take your face off, man, says Turk as he pulls out the switchblade, which is now, this is our scene on the cover in with the the interpretation of it on the cover by Mazzucchelli. But Grotto here saying to Turk, just a bum, Turk, already been beat up plenty from the looks. So Grotto always was the milder of the two of them, and he pulls some money out of the charity Santa Claus's jar, gives it towards Matt. Here, buy yourself a bottle. But Matt is determined, take it off, and Turk stabs him in the gut. And Grotto is upset. You didn't have to. Bled all over the suit. Just these details are amazing. You know, Turk is so callous. Let's get out of here, says Grotto, and they're gone. And then the scene switches back to Bellevue Hospital. Love the abstract quality here of the surgeon in the foreground. Manoli getting the bad news. Nick's son dies at 12:03 Christmas morning. If you want me to describe the way that makes me feel, you're a gowl, says Yorick in his first person narration. Always loved this. So well handled, the storytelling here. Look at the nurse coming out following them. Look at the slumped shoulders of Manoli. He talks. None of it makes much sense, but it will. I've got my story. I've also got a world-class nicotine fit, so I lead him out to the parking lot where I don't expect to have to face any grouchy nurses. But look in the art she's following, and look at that look on her face as well. And then we're with Matt, and he's been stabbed, he's bleeding. I keep walking just because it's hard to, he says. And Karen here, well, things are looking up for her in a manner of speaking, where someone's offering her a cigarette. I'm a real fan of yours, of your movies, that is, he says. I can see what you need, he says. So Karen went to Hollywood to find fame as an actress. Instead, she found herself acting in stag party movies and then falling into the adult film industry, let's put it that way, and then being spat out of the bottom of it with a heroin habit. So none of that was any good. And here things are going to get worse again, where she's fallen in with this guy. She wants from him not just the junk. I need a ride to America. I can pay. And the guy says, the smack for that, I'll take your money. But the ride, well, let's just say I'm going north anyway. Got deliveries. All I need on the ride is company. Like I said, I'm a real fan. So the implication is sex for that ride. And the Kingpin's men have caught up to Karen. But this guy, he's got a shotgun under the table and he blows the two killers away. You better be worth this, he says. And look at the look on his face. Love the implication of the beads of sweat after the effort as well. So Karen really has fallen in with a killer bleeding inside and out. I've always loved this page. Always love the rendering of Hell's Kitchen in its, kind of like griminess, grimy, gritty quality here with the wrecked cars as well, the windows smashed. Matt, at his lowest ebb, has gone back to Hell's Kitchen. Worst neighborhood in Manhattan, he thinks in his first person narration. Good place to get killed. And then I was born here, right down this street, my father's home, my home, the only home I've left. And then to counterpoint this, the scene switches to Foggy and Glory. It's Christmas Day. Foggy's bought her a gold necklace there. Sure, and it cost you a fortune, she says to him. We know what's coming next after this panel. They kiss. And nice by Miller to leave it wordless. And then what kind of present does Matt have on Christmas Day? His father's apartment building torn down. The wind is cold, blows fast across the empty lot. When did they tear my home down? Father, they tore it down, they tore it down. Father, the gym. It will still be where it was. It has to be. So, scene switches back to the parking lot of the hospital. Manoli is giving Ben the information. Here comes the nurse. And Ben, this is funny. He turns and he sees her and he says, hey, it's got to be okay to smoke out here. And she just punches Manoli with a right hook off the back of the car. What in? So Ben is taken by complete surprise and she grabs his wrist. Mr. Yorick, you're causing my employer some discomfort. And so my employer has asked me to make clear to you his position. His position is as follows. So she twists his arm around his back. If you were a publisher, my employer would destroy your presses. Since you're merely a typist and it would not be persuasive to destroy your typewriter, my employer has asked me to make it plain to you that every time you speak the name Matthew Murdock, you shall lose the use of your fingers. So we get that horrible sound effect of cracking there. The worst thing is that I don't pass out, he says. I get to see what she does to Nick Manoli. So we can only imagine that. And then Matt Fogwell's gym is still there. This is a great panel here. Love the lettering on the door or the window of the gym being cast here onto the ground. Remember, it's Christmas Day. This is Matthew Murdock's Christmas Day. It's still here. It still holds the smells, all the smells of all the years. The sweat, my sweat, father, and yours. You trained here. You trained and made me promise to stay away, so I lied to you and promised and came here anyway. I became a fighter just like you. Endless stolen hours on the ropes. At the bag. On my mother's grave, you made me promise. And interesting to mention the mother there. The only joy I had, I could never share it. Now every other part of me is dead. Only the fighter lives. And so he's punching at the punching bag. Only the fighter, but he's weak from loss of blood. And he's holding on to the bag to keep himself steady. And this is counterpointed with Karen, and so she shot the heroin into her veins, and now the guy is going to have his way with her. Like, this is terrible stuff, and it's Christmas Day, remember. That's her gift, a shot of heroin, and prostituting her body for the ride to New York with this criminal. And then something again, a swerve, just like at the beginning when the woman arrived in young Matthew's hospital room. So here she is. He's passed out on the ground, and there's the gold crucifix, and she recognizes him. Matt, she says. So his father's gone, but what about his mother? And what a great pieta this is. I always say it, like every superhero artist, every superhero comic, there's got to be a pieta, and this is Mazzucchelli's one, and it's a fantastic one. Look at the techniques he's using here. The spray of the ink, the cutting of the white paint in to imply the sunlight coming in through the window of Fogwell's gym, and the mother there kneeling over the body of, well, is it her son? So there is no corpse. Last page, page 22. Back to the Kingpin, picking up on a thought that was perseverating through his brain at the end of the previous issue. For 6 hours, this thought has been ringing through his skull. The man he thought he's murdered, so exquisitely, so painstakingly, relishing every precious step from Murdock's ruin to his emotional dismemberment, to that moment of savage ecstasy when the Kingpin's fists tore through him, cracking bone. The man he thought he'd murdered is alive. 6 hours spent sweating and straining, seeking the limits of his own inhuman strength, seeking that place past the thought. There is no corpse. He can't get rid of the thought. What is it about Murdock? Remember, this is how he's spending his Christmas Day. 6 hours in the gym, obsessing over Matthew Murdock. What is it about Murdock? He was a minor concern, a promising talent to be observed and catalogued and even occasionally flattered, and perhaps one day to be turned to the Kingpin's way. This is all back in Miller's original run. This was the case, but it's different now. But he's more than this. Now he's much more than this. He always was. And I've shown him that a man without hope is a man without fear. And what a great swing around to the epithet of Daredevil, the man without fear. Next, Born Again, giving us the title of this, the overarching title of this story of Matthew Murdock, Daredevil's midwinter fall into the abyss, and now he's going to rise up, born again, and his mother is present there on Christmas Day as well. His mother, whom he thought was in her grave. Yeah, fantastic stuff by Miller and Mazzucchelli. Really great stuff. No letters page here. Just another masterpiece issue. Daredevil number 229. I love this comic. I love the two previous issues as well. I love the next one. I hope you can tell that. I'm sure you can. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.